Hello, we are the 10th episode, and today we are talking about a 1979 Australian movie. What sort of kick-started the career of a certain actor called Mel Gibson. We are talking Mad Max, the first movie in a very big franchise nowadays. So we'll go around these folk here and have the opening thoughts on Mad Max, the 1979 movie. We'll go to Tim. Tim, over to you.
Well, it's definitely a classic movie. Very influential. Very low budget for its time, but pretty impressive what they were able to do with it. It's a revenge film in a lot of ways, which is always good. I thought I first watched this about 3 years ago because I hadn't seen it. I'd seen Fury Road and I enjoyed that, and I said, well, let me go back and look at these earlier ones. So I wasn't disappointed with it. I thought it was pretty good, but by today's standard, it's a bit creaky. But I overall enjoyed it pretty much. I thought it's got a lot of little horror tropes in it as well. The chase scenes and the wife running scared and falling over and all that kind of thing. But overall, it works. I mean, it's a good film. And it's my understanding. I haven't seen the follow-ups, but it's my understanding that the second film is the one that everybody likes a lot more. That they improved quite a bit on. They probably had a bigger budget as well. So, but yeah, overall, it was a good experience.
Cool. Thanks for that, Tim. Connor, Mad Max. Can't hear you, Connor. Makes a change.
Is that better?
Oh, that's
Hey, you're back. There you are.
Oh, we can hear you now.
Back to the computer. Mad Max. The only entry I'd seen before this, like Tim, was Fury Road. So I kind of went into this seeing what was a more high budget Hollywood version of the same concept. And I agree with Tim that this one came across a bit more creaky, but that's kind of because it's late 70s, low budget action. Having said that, he might be a racist and xenophobic bigot, but I quite like Mel Gibson, to be honest. I know that that's like sacrilege to say these days, and he's been in the news recently, so this is quite timely. I think he's a better director, but as an actor, this is actually one of the... I think I've only seen him in 3 films when he's acting, and he's quite good in this, actually. He does the kind of angry disillusionment quite well. And I think that that's helped in part by the way that it's shot. Because I think especially at the end when he's going after the gang, when he's driving through the rain and you kind of see the rain on the windshield and the windscreen wipers are wiping away, you can kind of see that look on his face. He's very good acting with these expressions as well as his emotions. And I think overall, the story, it doesn't really get going until Goose dies. That's my only issue, really. The first 35-40 minutes of it is like pure action. It's just action scene after action scene. And how many times can you really portray a car flipping over or crashing without it getting slightly predictable? Every time someone hops in a vehicle, you just kind of know what's coming. Other than that, to be honest, for a late 70s action film, it's a good effort. I quite like it. I prefer Fury Road, though.
We may get to Fury Road when we've done all the others. We'll get, because I like to do them in order. It's my OCD coming out. Let's go to Craig David.
Hi guys, I agree with Connor. Very good. That was a good one, Connor. Yeah, it was. It's like post-apocalyptic. After the world is ended again, and everybody was living in Newcastle. But I liked it actually, and I think Mel Gibson, he's very expressive. Apocalypto was a great. He directed this movie called Apocalypto, which is really cool. And then The Passion of Christ. I was telling my friend Craig, we went to see it in Denmark, and it was, I think they were speaking in Latin, but it was Danish subtitles, so I don't know what the fucking hell was going on halfway through the movie. Anyway, diversion. But I thought it was a very, very good movie actually.
No, that's okay. I'll add something later.
All right. So then, over to you.
All right. Well, yeah, this series is pretty badass, and it has been sort of a subject in my dreams. Actually, it's strange. It transposes itself into my dream state so well. And this one, the script was really clunky. I didn't like the dialogue very much, but I mean the main character dialogue was a bit, wishy-washy. But the actual action scenes were incredible. And I didn't think it was supposed to be post-apocalyptic when I first saw it back in like 81 or 82. I think I thought it was like sort of segregated society thing, because you didn't have like everything is nuclear, everybody's like we were just reviewing the Deadly Assassin, and in that the master was really, really seriously deformed, and he'd become crispy. And in this, there's nobody who's really seriously deformed, or nobody's really crispy. It's just, the people. It looked like there was like this forbidden zone, and like every time you go in there, you're gonna get run over by these guys on motorcycles, or and anybody traveling through, like the trucker with the petrol, they're gonna get ripped off. And so you're either gonna lose your life, lose what you've got, or or your car's gonna get cracked, beat up and stuff. And so it was interesting. It was really interesting. And I know it's going to show up in my dreams again this week. I don't know when, but that's the way with Mad Max. It's just strange, but it's also interesting that we were reviewing Deathmatch, another Fourth Doctor bit, but they had another sort of connection with the Mad Max thing, like the when Leela is sort of like the Tina Turner character in a future Mad Max movie. So it's very timely. Every bit about this is timely. I also enjoy pretty much everything that Mel Gibson has ever done, no matter what his political and social and religious aspirations are. He does make fine movies, and as long as he keeps that stuff to himself, I'll be all right. So anyway, back over to you, Lee.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. You've got to separate the man and his work. Go for the work. Yeah. And also the post-apocalyptic thing. I think they go more into that in the second one.
Second and third and fourth, yeah.
Because the second one's set 5 years after this. Let's go to Ethan.
Hey. Yep. I love the Mad Max films. Thunderdome's a bit weird, but we won't go into that. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching this one. I have a love for movies of that time where I actually like, it felt more like, it's like the equivalent of a pilot for a TV series, because I actually forgot how different this is compared to the later ones, because it's very green. We're not in the desert yet. It's very green. And it's more like just a messed up community. But you've sort of got that detail of something hellish is coming. But obviously they don't go into detail. But when you watch the other movies, you could sort of see it in this one, like something apocalyptic is really coming, something that's really going to screw the world up. But I liked the low budget. It's almost like it was a blueprint. It's almost like they sort of started with something and they thought, well, how can we do this? And then it's fully realized in the legendary Mad Max 2 and Fury Road. Fury Road and Mad Max just really found its footing. But I liked the low budget look to it, which obviously, you know, it is low budget film. But I love movies of that time where it was like, you know, your typical grindhouse revenge movies or indie movies of that time and stuff. And like the real sort of gritty, dark stuff. I agree with Connor. It doesn't really pick up the story till Goose gets burned. And that's when things really kick off. And you do have it introduces some memorable characters, you know, Mad Max himself, who just deteriorates into insanity with the loss of his wife and kid. Again, back then you could get away with quite a lot of things on movies and stuff, you know, killing off the baby, you know, fucking hell, you couldn't do that. But, and you've got the brilliant, a great villain, Toecutter, who's played by Hugh Keys-Byrne, I think that's how you pronounce his name. And a fun fact for you is he would later go on to play the villain in Mad Max 4, Fury Road, Morton Joe. That's literally the same actor, but just played a different character. Yeah. And yeah, it's and it has that weirdness to it, like some weird musical bits, but I'll get to moments in a minute. Like, but like it represents that whole madness, the world is going mad. And yeah, great car chases in it. And yeah, it is creaky, but it does make up for it, like for the next ones. Do I still enjoy it? Do I still like it? Yeah. As Tim said, it's a revenge movie, and I love revenge films of that time. Yeah, so it was great to watch this again. So over to you guys.
Thanks, Ethan. It must be my go then. Yeah, I agree. It's creaky. You'd see the money wasn't there. Certain acting in it is not that good. It's got charm. I agree with Ethan. I like movies of that era period where people hate it because it's not a big budget movie, you know, and there's no well-known people in it. Well, Mel Gibson wasn't really that well-known when he started this, but I like it. As you say, the violence in this, and it is brilliant. It can't be a little bit of violence. Yeah, I agree as well. That it doesn't. Max doesn't get mad until really Goose gets bad. So that's when he becomes mad. But yeah, I enjoyed it. As Ethan says, the actor returns in Fury Road as the main villain in that one. It does feel a totally different movie from the movies what do follow. You know, as you said, you're not in the desert. This is like the foreshadowing of things to come. You know, the society has broken down, just like we are in now, I think, in 2020.
Not apocalyptic, just post, pandemic.
I may call myself Madly. We'll tyrannical will do. But yeah, it's an enjoyable movie. It hasn't dated well, but that aside, you sit down and watch it from beginning to end. It's still enjoyable, and I didn't get bored. And if you don't get bored, it's done the job what it was made to do. I mean, it was made for about $400,000, and it made over 100 million, something like that. So it was a success at the box office. and then it went on to bigger things into with the sequels, of course. So yeah, the acting in it, as I say, not that good. Cardboardish acting. I say Mel Gibson didn't really have much to do in this for vocal-wise speaking. He didn't really have much to say in this. So, but for me, you know, Toecutter is a brilliant villain. Really is. He's just out there, and it was a brilliant idea. Whoever thought we'll bring him back for Fury Road, but as a different kid. But you can see it's him under all that makeup. You can see it's him with the eyes. So let's go to favourite moments or things what you're not so keen on. We'll go backwards. Ethan.
Yeah. Favorite moments. I agree. Like how the foreshadowing is in this, and you can still see the punkish. I did like the villains are great. I mean, Toecutter is such a memorable classic villain, and I love the whole punk style to this. I mean, that went on to influence so many stuff. And one thing I'm going to point out, which Lee'll know this, it influenced a certain anime that I loved from the 80s. Can you guess which one that was?
Oh no. Go on.
Fist of the North Star.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fist of the North Star, because if you watch that, they've all got the same designs and stuff, but obviously mixed in with the gore and Bruce Lee type movie. So it's done its work, you know, they're just so memorable, the design and stuff, and the costumes they wear. A little thing I did like, I mean, when Mad Max starts to deteriorate into absolute insanity, I like that. I like the story behind that. And there's certain details I wonder, when you watch it, is it part of his madness, or is it just, there's something not right there? I like doing this stuff where he goes, it's after he sees Goose and everything just clicks. He goes to see his other mate, doesn't he? The one with the big tash. And I couldn't help but almost laugh at this. You know, he's giving that big speech, but in the background, there's a very sort of like trumpet, like soldier, we can do this thing. Did you notice that? Where it's like playing sort of like an almost speech thing. And I always thought, that's a bit, it was quite weird, but I thought, I wonder if that's part of his mental state going, you know, this is how he's seeing things. And even the weird music, like you had some very strange choices for music, like the jazz. As much as I love jazz, it sort of fitted well with the woman. And even once he driving in the rain, you hear the music. You sort of wonder, when you watch it again and know the whole story and all the movies, you think, is that him deteriorating into insanity? And is this now how he's seeing the world, or how he's thinking? But just a thought. I just like looking into these psychological things and stuff and going, "Ooh, I see what you did there." But every scene Toecutter was in, you know, nasty piece of work, but he is out there. I just love the over-the-top style of him, the theatrical style to him. You know, he always played a good part. And me and my brothers were talking about this today. We said we can't help but laugh. You know, it's just so random. But there's two bits where I love the villain. What's his name? Knight
Rider.
Knight Rider, thank you. That one. Where I love the introduction of Mad Max, and he's this lunatic's going batshit crazy, going, and then suddenly he sees it's Mad Max, and he just breaks down into tears because he knows who it is. He's like, oh, I'm screwed. And then when he crashes, it gets that quick shot of his eyes bulging out and stuff. And you're like, what the? And you see that again, which is the most satisfying villain death ever, where the big fight with Toecutter, and the truck comes in and his eyes burst out of his head and he just gets crushed under that fucking truck and stuff. It's brilliant. My one complaint is, I said this earlier, I wish it was gorier. I wish it had the blood and gore, because there should have been brain splattered at that part. They could have used I would have been like, yes! Call me a psycho, but I'm like, yes!
Yeah, you're a psycho.
What was that?
You're a psycho.
But you get that in the next one. We've got some body parts flying everywhere and stuff. But and I like the ending as well with the kid. You know, he just handcuffs him I mean, that's a brilliant bit. It just leaves him to die, and then he just blows up into smithereens. I think those are my favorite moments and stuff. So, you guys.
Right, thanks for that, Ethan. We'll move over to, let's go to Connor.
My favorite moments was probably the beginning sequence and probably the end. I liked it more when Max was in it more prevalently, because I actually agree with what you said, Lee. I didn't realize how little Mel Gibson was in it until the end. He's really not in it at all, that much.
It's not a big part for him, is it? Really?
No, it should have been a bigger part, considering that the movie's named after him. I did like the action, I must admit I did, and I liked how intense it was. For lack of a better expression, I think that the movie had a consistent backbone of intensity, which works for revenge films like that, like Kill Bill, etc. And it did ramp up the more it goes. Unfortunately, like the action just got, because obviously they were on such a low budget, they couldn't really vary it up. It just got kind of samey, but at the same time, it was a very well produced action flick for the amount of money that they had, and I believe at the time it was the highest grossing Australian movie. In fact, I think it might still be that's solely produced in Australia.
Yeah, I think it is.
And to be honest, don't underestimate Australian cinema. They've actually got a very good set of directors like George Miller. And recently they've kind of regained that sort of form that Mad Max started. So I think, the action was more the selling point, I think, for me, for this picture. I wish Mel Gibson was just in it a bit more, because like you said, he didn't get really that mad. In fact, I wouldn't say he got that mad until maybe his wife got run over. It didn't feel like it felt like obviously he was chasing the biker gang through the woods and stuff near the old woman's home, which was a hilarious scene. Her coming out with this long double-barreled shotgun that she could barely carry. And I'm certain, even though she somehow seemed to stand back up again, I'm certain that when she shot the gang behind the van, the recoil flung her back into the van, and she probably knocked herself out. But that wasn't shown, and for some reason, like, she's made of iron because she got back up again. But yeah, she was an underrated, very funny character, actually, that I would have liked to have seen a lot more of. And the revenge stuff was very well grounded. Everything kind of made sense. Sometimes I find with revenge movies, the kind of stakes and the reasons why they go on revenge missions get a bit too outlandish. But everything here was kind of well grounded, even though it was a post-apocalyptic world. Everything was kind of like a humane reason. So his wife kind of got killed. Was she killed? Because she was only, I can't remember, was she in hospital?
She was on life support, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, comatose. So
it's strange how ambiguous they are with Goose's demise, because it's not really, they don't really say that he's dead, do they? It's just that he's a burnt corpse under a sheet, and then obviously the wife. But yeah, like I said, every kind of reason for him taking revenge makes sense, which kind of adds to the drama of it. Really good film, to be honest.
Thank you, Connor. Yeah, I agree. As I said, he don't get mad until halfway through the movie. So before that, he's sort of annoyed Max, and then he becomes mad. Tim, over to you.
Well, it seems like, going by the discussion, it seems like maybe the film suffers. The script was a bit unfocused, if you think about it, because it does tend to, like has been pointed out, it doesn't really pick up till about halfway through. Even though you've got some outstanding car scenes, and chase scenes and stuff, but I mean, and he doesn't really get mad. I mean, it seems like they split the focus. I mean, is he mad about his friend or is he mad about his wife? But I mean, obviously he's mad about both. But I mean, it seems like you don't really get the sense that it's piled on. I almost wonder if they shouldn't have just cut one of them out of the plot, maybe his friend. Instead, it might have felt more focused or something. But that's neither here nor there. I do think it's an impressive film, and like Ethan pointed out, I thought that was hilarious when this badass at the beginning, I forget his name, Night Driver or whatever, Night Rider.
Night Rider.
He's just all badass until he sees Mad Max. He starts bawling like a little girl. That was hilarious, and I think it's pretty well directed in a kind of funny way. I mean, especially the chase scenes, like even like the scene when the wife is mowed down. I mean, the idea that he just throws a toy and a shoe out there in front of the camera, so that you get the impression that, you know, oh, that happened. That's horrible. But it's a very stylistic way of filming that scene. So I kind of agree with everybody. It's a bit unfocused for the most part, but it is a good revenge tale. I would argue that he should have actually handcuffed Toecutter to the car. That might have been a better ending, a more satisfying ending to the revenge plot, instead, because he just kind of gets mowed down perfunctorily, and then of course he ties the stupid kid up to the car, who really was just in the wrong gang, I guess. But I mean, again, that's neither here nor there. Overall though, it's a good film.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they were sat around just thinking up an idea for a film, and all this started with was car chases, and then the story went from there. And maybe that's why half the film is just car chases, and then the story picks up. Who knows?
But this guy's going around chasing people. He's a bit mad, isn't he? Hey,
Yeah.
people call it Mad Max. Huh?
Let's go to Craig and David.
Well, I think maybe they've got the inspiration from the Italian Job, and then and then newer films like the Fast and the Furious franchise. Maybe that's like a nod to the Mad Max series as well. And I want to touch on the Thunderdome. I don't know if anyone's ever been to Cornwall to the Eden Project, but when you're actually in the actual greenhouse there, it is almost like being in the Thunderdome.
And you dress up as anti-entity, do you?
It's a geodesic dome, dude.
the whole culture of the Mad Max franchise as well. I just think of the Burning Man festival, when people are in the desert with their little and they're making their own little subcultures and communities there, and I think Mad Max has got a lot to answer for. What do you think, David?
Yeah, it's Dukes of Hazzard, shot in Australia with a punk soundtrack.
And Fist of the North Star, we have to. That's one of my all-time favourite mangas.
Well, yeah, we'll go down the animation route later. Anything else to say before I move on?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, cheers, guys.
Really covered it, you know.
And over to Susan.
Yeah, I liked the bit at the beach where she has, it's a long sort of walk out to the beach, and you know that if it's going to take her that long to walk out there, it's going to take her that long to run back, and you knew that those guys were chasing them, so you know that was a rather tense bit. And the other thing that was I mean, the whole punk motorcycle thing is great, and the leather and metal is great. It's really cool, and that you can see where it's starting to go. And I guess like you guys have said, it is where you're starting to go with this series, and there were the other moments that were intense was where the baby and the mom was killed. Those were incredible, and Goose's death was brutal and horrible, and Toecutter was incredible, and I didn't realize that it was the same guy, Toecutter and Mr. Immortal or whatever, and the other one. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Anyway, like it, and glad we're doing this series. I'm glad we got here. So back over to you, Lee.
Thank you, Susan. Well, you've gone through everything that I could have stated. The police, the chief of police, with the handlebar moustache, the bald head. Not a very good actor, but every time he was on the scene, I just kept thinking of village people. For some reason, I don't know why. Maybe it was the leather trousers and the handlebar moustache. I don't know. The village people get popping into my head.
It's all right. Keep the rest to yourself. Keep the rest to yourself.
Things like that do. I don't know why. YMCA and all that.
Is his name Fifi?
What? Yeah, Fifi. Was it Fifi or something like that?
Yeah.
That's his name, Fifi.
Something like that.
All right. My name's Fifi.
Yeah. And also what Tim mentioned early on in the cast about there's a few horror, as he said, few horror tropes in this. And the main one is where she's running through the trees, panicking. They're being chased. And I kept thinking Evil Dead with that scene, but then she wasn't being chased by men; it was by trees. You see, my head's just going off in another tangent. But
the bloody rug in a tree.
In a tree.
It's supposed to be a dog.
But yeah, this movie has influenced a hell of a lot of other movies in the present day, and it's been such a success. I mean, 3 movies were made in the from 79 to 85, 3 movies, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Fury Road came out in 2015, something like that, with great success. No Mel Gibson, but Tom Hardy did a damn good job as his replacement. So, will anybody else want to say anything about Mad Max before we go to final say and score?
Well, I have a question. I'm sorry, but the music has been mentioned quite a bit. It says in the beginning that it was composed by Brian May. Is that the guy from?
I thought it was the same when I saw it come up on the credits at the start. Brian May. I thought, what? Brian May from Queen? No, it's a totally different Brian May.
Australian film composer called Brian May.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank God for Google.
You mentioned Fifi, and I was thinking he waters his plants naked. Just remember that.
No, he had leather trousers on, didn't he?
Yeah, tight leather trousers and a scarf and totally naked. There's a clue there.
I genuinely thought for a brutal 30 seconds he was naked, but that's just me.
Yeah, the men don't really get naked in the Mad Max series until about Road Warrior, second one. So,
why was that one kid running off with no pants on? I mean,
yeah.
A lot of things they don't explain. It just kind of happens. You're just like, oh, okay.
And then he gets his megaphone out, come back. I don't know. But anyway, so
the bit at the beginning as well with the guy looking down the sniper scope at the 2 people fucking was a bit of a weird start as well, wasn't it?
Look at them!
Yeah, but the guy who was doing that was a copper.
Get back to work. Hang on.
Yeah. It's just proving that in this movie how society has really gone into the gutter. Right, final say and scores. Let's go back. Susan.
All right. Well, since things are going in the gutter, I'll give this an 8 out of 10. It was pointing a direction. It definitely had a direction, and it was a bit like I Spit on Your Grave and the other revenge movies. I enjoyed it. Watch it again. Thanks.
Okay, I will allow you to watch that tomorrow, Susan. Craig and David.
What do you think, Craig? It's 9. No. Yeah. Okay.
It's a 9 for those 2.
Yeah.
Ethan.
Oh, yeah, me.
Yes, you're the only Ethan here.
Well, it's just you cut out there. You went eat.
Oh. Well, it all starts with eat.
Yeah. My favourite ones are Road Warrior and Fury Road. That's when they perfected it and they found their footing with it. But this one, I'm gonna give it. I think I'll give it a 9. Actually, I was gonna give it an 8, but you know what? I'm gonna give it a 9 for kickstarting something that became really good. Well, fantastic. So yeah, there's creaky parts, but you know what? They started something great. You know, rocky start, but you know what? Made up in the end. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
Brilliant, brilliant. Tim.
Yeah, it seems like this was a surprise when it came out, and influenced a lot of other directors. And every now and then, a very low budget movie that's smartly made can do that. And I think that this is pretty impressive for its time. So I'm going to give it an 8. I think it's worth a watch. It's not the best movie you've ever seen, but it's definitely entertaining enough for an hour and a half. So I'll give it an 8.
Agree with you there. Connor.
I'll give it a 4 out of 10 because there's not enough bald Charlize Theron in it. I'm joking, it gets a 7.
Was that a 7, was it? Right. Me, I think I'm going to go an 8. It's out of the franchise. It's not the best, but as Ethan said, it started the franchise off. And it started it off on the right footings. The Road Warrior and Fury Road are out of all 4. Those are the highest ranked movies, but we may get to Road Warrior maybe sometime next year. We like to spread these sequels out. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining us. I'd like to thank Susan, Ethan, Craig, David, Connor, and Tim for coming together to discuss Mad Max. You guys out there, let us know what you think of Mad Max, the original movie from 1979. Please leave a comment below. Let us know if you think we'd like to discuss in the future. Give us some suggestions. If you'd like to join, leave us a comment or message us, and we'll try to get you involved. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're all over social media. And if you need any notifications of our videos going up, just press the bell on there. Yes, there you go, that bell, and you'll get notified when a video goes up. So thank you guys again for talking Mad Max, and until next time, seeing you.